we are live. Let's see. Hey everybody, it's Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living. We've got Chase Peoples, Chuck Peoples, and Colleen with us. And yes, we are live. Let's turn our volumes down. All right, we'll get the bugs worked out of this. We're sitting down here in the shop tonight, hanging out. We've got a medical class going on tomorrow for some of our people. Chase and Chuck are going to be teaching that. Colleen's going to be one of the people attending. I'm going to be attending also. I figured it'd be cool just to do a live with a Q&A. Anybody's got any questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer questions, stuff like that, and whatever topics y'all want to cover, let us know. Chuck, you want to talk about the medical class?
Yeah, we're going to do it's a 2-day class. We're going to do some trauma medicine, emergency trauma treatments and stuff. And we're going to focus heavy on what I think is the most important medical skill you can have, and that's patient assessment. So we're going to talk a lot about that, especially people who don't have a medical background. And then the second day, we're going to talk about some medical emergencies, some prolonged care, really dive into wound care and closure after the initial treatment. Do a little bit of patient movement stuff, and then we'll do a kind of a fun little scenario to wrap the day up.
All right, everybody can hear us good. Chase, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do as far as tomorrow.
I'm going to be playing the patient for patient assessment, and I'm sure we'll do multiple scenarios where I will be the patient in all of them, and to show people how and what the right way is to do an assessment, to find out where the problem is, where the problem lies on the body, and pretty much go from there.
Colleen, tell everybody what your YouTube channel is, and tell them a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Well, my name is Colleen, and I have a prepper channel. It's Prepper What Colleen, and it's just the very beginning of moving out into the country and learning the prepper lifestyle, which inadvertently goes back to homesteading. So we've just over the past year got some chickens and sheep. And I'm down here to get some more medical skills. I work in the hospital, but I think with the whole stuff that's been going on the last year to 2 to 3 years, a lot of hospital staff haven't gotten enough hands-on education and hands-on training. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to learn and just keep on the skills, because trauma medicine and being a first responder is really important in today's age.
Give them, did you tell them
Yeah.
what your YouTube channel
Prepper What Colleen.
is? Can you put a link in there for
Sure.
you?
Sure.
Tracy, good to have you in chat. Shannon Stevens is here, Rockcastle County. We've got Tracy from Barron County. Guys, give us some questions. We'll start answering questions for you as soon as we get some questions up. Like I said, I'm Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living. Y'all probably seen some of my videos, stuff like that. We've got a small homestead in Warren County, Kentucky, that we raise a few cows, raise sheep, chickens. We got some pigs. We actually just had a litter of pigs the other day. We butchered a 346 pound pig the other day, and I did not weigh it. I know people were mad because we didn't weigh how much finished meat was on it.
The pig?
Oh, we weighed it live. It's
Yeah.
346. I didn't weigh the sausage and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I just want to get this done. I was tired of looking at it. I'm like, just put it in the freezer and I don't have to look at it anymore. So, but yeah, so we do that. We're going to be doing the February 4th. We will be doing a sausage making class here at the place. Yeah, we're going to butcher some Juliana pigs and pretty much just grind those up into sausage. I will have one half, at least one half, if not a whole one, that I'm going to show all the different cuts where you can get the bacon, the pork chops, the shoulder, your ham, stuff like that. It'll be a smaller pig, easy to see. We'll have it sitting on the table and do that. But tonight we're just hanging out the night before the medical class and gonna hang out. I've got my 100-year-old wheelchair that I bought the other day that tomorrow I'm gonna roll around in it. And I might, hopefully nobody will need the wheelchair after tomorrow, but there might be. So what else has everybody else got to do? Chuck, what'd you do today besides drive?
Really pack up stuff for the class, do some last minute stuff, just throw some stuff, the few slides that I'm going to show because I refuse to do death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And just got all the equipment, make sure it was going, and added a few things. And as usual, so this class is kind of tailor made for your group. So it's a few different things, and then I've decided to add in a couple little surprises and things like that for everybody. So we're gonna have a good time, just going over some scenarios, just really prepping for this.
Are we gonna get dirty tomorrow?
Good chance.
You know it's supposed to snow tonight.
I know. Dress warm.
Yeah. Hey, what's weird? This is weird. I was looking at my phone earlier, and it showed all this snow coming in tonight.
Yeah,
And
I was looking at the weather down here.
yeah, and I told my wife, I'm like, hey, Whitney, it's gonna snow tomorrow, and she goes, no, it's not. And I was like, yes, it is. She goes, I just looked on my phone, and it's no snow. So she pulled up. We've got iPhones. She pulled up her weather app. It showed no snow for Bowling Green, and then I pulled mine up, and it showed snow.
Mine showed it was like 40% chance from like 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. or something, like right in the middle of the class, pretty much. There's gonna be a little bit of snow, and I was like, great, it's gonna be cold.
It's cold when people get sick and hurt. So
Yeah.
It is.
it's wet. That's real life stuff. I'd rather have bad weather.
Oh yeah. I mean, it'd be nice.
Rain's
to have
fun to train in.
Oh yeah. It'd be nice out on the gravel parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff outside. We're definitely gonna do some stuff outside Saturday. Tomorrow we're gonna focus really heavily on patient assessment. I don't think enough medical classes
They don't.
focus on that too much, and that's your, in my opinion, and I would say that's your most valuable skill.
Yeah.
It's a trick the wrong thing.
You're not going to know what's wrong with anybody unless you do a good patient assessment, and you're doing one whether you realize it or not. But it's best to do a good one than a half-assed one.
And I bought. Don't let me forget. I bought. What's the little things you're looking at ears at?
Otoscope.
Sure. The ear.
The ear, eye, and nose looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the little light and the black thing on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Little flashlight.
I've got one. I've got one in my kit. I always bring.
But I bought one, and it came in on the Amazon. I opened it up, and I was looking at it, I'm like, that's like a kid with a new toy. I was like, "Ooh, look at this. And my wife walks in, she goes, what in the hell did you buy? I was like, come here and let me look in your ear. She goes in another room, she's like, you are not looking in my ears. And I'm like, come on.
Well, we do have some people in West Virginia watching. We got a couple text messages.
Most
already.
people, most people want to focus on the trauma stuff. They want the cool ninja guy stuff. They want the tourniquets, and the chest seals and the decomp needles and all that, which you have to have. I mean, absolutely. I've got a tourniquet on me right now. I carry one every single day. I mean, you have to carry that stuff. But in all reality, the other stuff is what you're going to need. And people don't realize that a lot of the stuff you're going to be doing, if for some reason, the stuff hits the wall, hits the fan, it's going to be nursing care, prolonged care. You're going to be nursing care and wound care and things. It's not going to be the cool ninja stuff. That takes 3 seconds.
You got a question on there? Do you build your own kids? Or am I ready?
Let me get Shelly. Shelly, Chuck and Chase will do an assessment of me tomorrow and find out actually what's wrong with me.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Now look, an assessment is to try to rule out things and kind of focus down on one thing. What's wrong with Jason? That's going to take probably weeks-long assessments and observation.
In a padded
In a
room.
mental
Yeah,
hospital.
that's going to be
Straight jacket.
that's going to be prolonged care. That's not going to be a quick assessment.
That's really what that room is for over there.
Yeah.
The radio room.
Uh-huh.
The padded room you can't get out of.
Let me see. Shannon Stevens, do I build my own kits? Yes. I will stick my email on here, and you can email me, and I can build you a custom kit and let you know what I have and what we do. That is one of the services that I provide.
Well, I think it's good that in your own home that you have your own kit that is more focused on what your family is than I mean, yeah, you can buy a kit, and I've bought kits, but I've also taken things from this kid and that kid and just
lot
gone to Walmart and gone shopping and been like, okay, this is what my family needs, because a lot of times you just have to figure out specifically
Yeah.
or what's better.
I like to call and we'll go over that in class.
Yep.
It's mission essential.
Yes.
My kits always change depending on what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I'm covering, the time of year, what the weather's going to be. There's so many
Yeah.
different variables. And what it's going to be, is it going to be an indoor venue? It's going to be an outdoor venue. And there's so many different variables with it and the type of activities that are going to be going on. So I literally repack my kits every time. And the nice thing is the kits I have now, John from Special Operations Equipment, they have the tear off pouches. I've got different components and tear off pouches that I could just tear off and throw in
Instead of
the
having
med
to
bag.
grab
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, which is
John's
it's
stuff
great
solid when it
to
comes
be able to do,
that.
because I can also interchange it with smaller kits of his bags that I've made into medical kits, and it's just I can tear out these pouches and put them in and build stuff, whether I need a low profile small kit or I need my full blown medical kit or the MCAP or anything. It's perfect equipment for it. And I've used bags from everybody, literally from everybody, and
And Evan's talking about eye wash. He said he's had to use it 4 or 5 times in the last month with his wife.
oh yeah, yeah. It's little things like that, and even
kids.
people talk about
Wow.
eye wash and saline and stuff like that, but that's some of the stuff we'll go over in class is what things that you can use. Number one, how to make your own saline, which you can do, and other alternates to use that's perfectly safe. That, you know, when you take the class, we're going to go over that, because there's probably a lot of things that you'd be surprised you can use that you wouldn't be able to think you could for
Yeah.
wound flushing, eye wash, things like that. But yeah, Evan, that's absolutely, Evan as usual is on point with stuff, with everything he does. But yeah, it's things that's absolutely something you have
Oh
to
yeah,
have.
Emperor Charlemagne, just getting started on homesteading. I've been at it several years. One of the biggest, yeah, Chase is just getting started. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I've got for you: start with one thing. Start with one animal. Don't go to the livestock auction and come home with 30 chickens, 5 geese.
Don't overdo it right out of the gate. I was actually listening to Jack
Yeah,
Spirico on
10
the way down here. And he
Yeah,
was talking
10
about
sheep
that.
and 2 cows. Go in, start with chickens. Chickens are the gateway drug
Yeah.
to homesteading. You get 6 chickens, and 2 weeks later, you've got 30 chickens, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love chickens. And then
You
you're going
have
to want
40 pounds
everything
of
else.
eggs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Start with chickens. Before you buy any animal, have your infrastructure in place. There's nothing worse than going to Tractor Supply and coming home with 10 chicks, and you're like, damn, what am I going to do now? Have your brooder box, have your coop, and everything ready to go. The chicken feed, everything ready to go before you come home with an animal.
I actually had a friend who they jumped the gun. They bought a homestead, a couple acres. They jumped the gun and bought chickens and thought they were going to have a coop done. Didn't have their coop done. His wife jumped the gun, went out and bought them. They ended up living in the house with them until the coop got done.
Yeah.
By the way, I have to say something. My daughter-in-law, his wife, is making a smart-ass comment on here about we all have bags. Yes, I have several bags.
Just block her.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
gonna do
Yeah.
that.
She has to make.
She yells at me because I spend money on good bags.
Let me see. Did you see the one Healy means?
Take it. I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, and I just want to, I think that is a good idea real quick, is that to start off with chickens. We had literally 4 chickens
That's what I'm
for
starting
like
off
the
with.
first 6 months. And then after we got our fence up, we started collecting more animals. And I do have a habit myself of bringing home baby chicks or baby ducks. But yeah, don't get the big animals until you've definitely got a fence up and you've got some hay and you've got a few things already ready going.
And another thing to think about, to jump back to the like mission ready on, or what you're doing when you're IFAC and things like that, is a lot of people jump the gun. They want the gunshot wound kits and all that stuff. but like people don't think of like the small boo boo kits. Like
Oh,
I got
yeah.
2 kids at home, but like I've asked people, "Where's your boo boo kit? What boo boo kit? You don't have Band-Aids? No. You don't have simple, triple antibiotics?
Yeah.
No. What do you got? A tourniquet, an Israeli bandage, and a needle decomp. I'm like, that's going to get you. If somebody gets shot, that's about it.
I don't even teach the needle decomp unless it's trained medical professionals, because yes, that is a true life-saving skill, but it's also a skill that if you haven't mastered, you'll kill somebody just as quick
Real
with
quick.
it too, instead of saving their life. So that's not something I sell unless I know I'm selling to a trained medical professional or somebody that I've personally trained that I know they can comfortably do it.
Get Ely Means. She just wanted to know affordable storage / basic items recommendations for adults.
Gauze.
Well, I mean, number one, yeah, gauze bandages, 4x4s, 2x2s, Band-Aids.
Eye
You're going to
covers.
use Band-Aids more than anything else you want.
Eye
Saline.
patches.
Saline for eye wash, for wound flushing. Get yourself a syringe, at least about a 12 to 20 cc syringe that you can do small wound flushing with. I like to use a 60 just because it can hold more and you get more flush, and that's one of the things we'll go over. But you can also use that syringe to flush eyes out with. You can, there's enough, even ears if something's stopping up your ear, noses, things like that. Gloves, lots of gauze, lots of bandages. Always, when you're out somewhere, buy a box of Band-Aids. Triple antibiotic, buy it by the tube, whether you buy it in the individual package, you can order that off Amazon and other places. Cortisone, Bactrim, all those little things. And then over-the-counter medicines. Even though people like to think antibiotics and all this, you're going to need the simple cold medicines. You're going to need the simple, all the different flu medications, things like that. The pain relievers is a big thing. Stock up on those things.
You can get big 2-packs at Sam's
Yeah,
or Walmart. I mean, it's simple.
Mucinex, all those things is going to make life easier. When
Benadryl is really
Benadryl, absolutely, and aspirin.
Yeah,
People
Benadryl is
think you
huge.
got to go out and drop.
Yeah,
$10,000.
Benadryl and baby aspirin
Will save your life.
for chest pain will actually save your life. And those are things that we go over. How to pack a kit, what to pack, and how to stock for the different things, whether it's your home kit, a vehicle kit, whatever. I mean, yeah, you're going to hear me over and over say use SOE gear, and it's not because I'm friends with John or it's because his gear is literally rock solid. And it's going to last. You're going to buy it once. That's it. You're going to buy one of his bags once, and you'll pass it on to your kids, your grandkids.
Yeah. And a lot of the over-the-counter stuff, just like Chuck was saying, pain meds, ibuprofen, Aleve, aspirin, Tylenol, gauze. I tell you, one of the best places to get gauze. I bought gauze off Amazon.
Oh yeah, buy in bulk.
Yeah,
In
do
bulk, it's cheaper.
bulk. You can on Amazon. You can do bulk medical supplies, and it will come up with stuff. I mean, I'll order just cases of gauze and set in there. Some of the stuff I usually buy at Walmart, your Neosporins and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and I buy
it's
these
cheaper.
there.
Yeah.
Just pick
That's what I
one.
use.
It's kind of going off like Jack Spirico's copy canning. When he goes talk about copy canning, it's the same thing with medical supplies. Every time you go somewhere, buy one. The next time you go, buy two. If you use it, buy 3.
I go to Walmart. I'll pick something up, some sort of
Something
over-the-counter
small.
medical
What-
supply.
Yeah,
Yeah,
My kids are
Bacitration.
like, get away with that cream. And I'm like, well, no, it helped. It
It
fixed you up.
works. It works. And then the other thing is, it's simple PPE stuff. Gloves.
Yes.
Eye
People
Pro.
do not have gloves.
Gloves is the one thing you will run out of. And yeah, you can wash your hands and stuff, but gloves is the best protection, not only for the patient, but for you.
Even in your kids, people don't think to put gloves in their kids. You'll go look at somebody's iPad. There's no gloves in there.
I had
Like,
one of my.
if you're treating a stranger, you
You
don't
don't want
know
them
you don't know what they've
to-
been exposed
If
to.
you
You don't
look
have.
at my kids, there's individual bags, to tear off the pouches and stuff. In each individual bag, there's gloves. Because that way, if I'm reaching for something, no matter what it is or what pouch it is, what equipment, there's gloves in there for me to put on or throw to somebody. So in a bag, I may have 15, 20 pairs of gloves.
But it's worth it every time.
We had when we Growing Generations Homestead said peroxide and rubbing alcohol
Yep.
come together cheap at Costco. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, peroxide and rubbing alcohol is dirt cheap, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're looking at what 90? I think Walmart sells 90 or what is it 98% rubbing alcohol. It's like 98 cents.
yeah, and it's never going to go bad. I mean,
No.
alcohol will not go bad.
We have tons at my house.
Oh yeah.
Tons.
Healy means, I hope that answers your question. It's kind of a broad subject, but just start with anything. Obviously have a tourniquet. You're going to hear me preach that. Have 2 tourniquets.
Yep, I've got
Know
one.
how to use them. Get training and practice with them. It's a skill you need to practice with. Always have a tourniquet. Have chest seals. Order those things. If you're not sure what to order
Always carry
or
2.
when, call me. I'll stick my email here in the chat and let you know. But there's these things when you see it, get it, because rubbing alcohol and peroxide, those things were very hard to get when the vid was going on.
That's what Evan just commented on. He just
Oh,
said,
yeah. I
alcohol
mean,
is
you
very hard
could go
to
in
get there.
stores, you couldn't find it, and when I was trying to restock my regular job on sites and stuff, we couldn't get it. None of the suppliers had it. It was very difficult to
my
get.
work actually was bringing it to us. They were getting it somehow, and they were giving their employees alcohol, peroxide, hand sanitizer.
But
We're out in
that's,
the field, like some of our guys are out in the field a lot and exposed.
that's something to get. And hand sanitizer is a misnomer. It's great for portable, but I'm sure you'll agree with me. Soap and water is the best thing.
Yep.
Hand sanitizer can actually hurt
agree.
your hands.
I get in arguments so many times at work. I'm like, you have a sink right there with
Yeah.
soap and
Wash
water.
your hands. It's so much
Why are you using
Laziness.
Yes, it
Laziness.
is. It is.
And
I'm
soap
like,
and water, and that's the
water,
other thing.
Water.
Buy soap.
Yep.
Buy cleaning stuff and soft soap and hard, regular bar soap, because you're going to have to clean wounds. You're going to have to clean
Yep.
people. Somebody may be bedridden. You're going to have to give them baths and stuff, because the big thing, the biggest things you're going to have to deal with first in a grid down scenario where the world goes to hell.
Small cuts.
What you don't realize is sanitation, foodborne and food safety. Those things.
Oh yes.
Dysentery, which we don't deal with, will shoot up and be a huge problem. Clean drinking water, all this, because if the power goes off,
You don't
I
have any of
think
that.
our tap water is going to get clean.
I don't know what y'all are talking about, this washing hands stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I know,
you're a
that's right.
contractor.
Yeah, I know.
You're
You don't
you're
do that
electrical
anyway.
tape
Yeah,
around
you
the
don't
cut
do
and go on.
Duct tape, maybe.
God, I hate contractors. Construction workers is the absolute worst, because then I have to treat their gangrene cut,
Yeah.
a week
Yeah.
later.
Oh, I
Or
got
they come into
stitches.
the ER and they're like, I had a bottled water today.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 100 degrees. And you've had one
That's a
bottled
good one,
water.
yeah. They were like,
I've
wow.
tried. I've had 5 Red Bulls.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Now, I cut my finger a few years ago and needed stitches. We just poured a pool deck out, had like 20 yards of concrete on the ground, sliced it to the bone, put some duct tape on it, and I'm like, we got to finish this slab. I was like, I'm not letting 20 yards go to waste. So the next day it hadn't healed up, so I went to urgent care, and I knew the doctor, and he was like, yeah, he said, should have come in yesterday. And I was like, okay. I said, just stitch me up, doc. I got stuff to do. He didn't numb it quite good enough, and he's cutting the skin off the side. I'm like, dude, that hurts. He goes, you should have come in yesterday, and I'd have numbed it all
Yeah,
the way.
yeah.
I'm like, you jerk.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What you're going to realize is you're going to have meatball medicine when these things happen, because things like lidocaine and lidocaine with epi and things like that are going to be very hard to get. So
We're already having
Yeah,
shortages.
exactly.
in the hospital.
Shortages
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So
Shortages now.
I go to clean or stitch a cut or debride a wound and cut away dead flesh and skin and stuff. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Bite the bullet.
Yeah, you're going to have to
Yeah.
bite the bullet, and it may be something where instead of a anesthetic type agent, I'm giving a pain medicine just so they can tolerate it better.
Yeah.
And it may fall back into the late 1800s where somebody's we're giving patients cheap bourbon. I'm not
Yeah.
giving them
That's what I
good
just
stuff.
told. I just told
Yeah,
him that.
I'm not
Yeah.
giving them my good stuff. That's
have
saving for
have
me.
a shot of whiskey
Yeah.
and bite this leather.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally going to do that, because
Yeah.
wound care, and I'm going to show things, and we're going to talk about it, because we get into wound care a little bit on the second day. My 4-day class, we go heavy into wound care, where we do true debridement and cut away flesh, and we're going to do some wound closure stuff as far as butterflies and seri strips and even staples, but sewing just takes too long.
Oh yeah,
That's a 4-day class.
Staples is all good.
Yeah,
So
Staples
I got
is
time.
easy. I love
we
Staples.
got a training dummy for that.
And
Yeah.
even the
We're
zip.
not gonna
No, we're cut
Good there,
trace
done
open.
that. Alright.
But even the zip stitch, which is the new things are great. And I'll even show you some improvised
We'll
ways.
take an animal for that one.
It's not fun and it's not easy, but if you have to close a large wound, at least temporarily, you can, and people are gonna, especially when I say this, you can actually use zip ties. Yeah, you can do it. You're gonna
Yeah.
poke some holes, but
It'll
I can
hurt.
do it. It's not the ideal way to do something, but in a last ditch effort, if you've got a large wound, you need to at least temporarily close up, and you don't want to leave open. You can use, you can literally use zip ties.
Oh yeah, in the ER we've done where you do just like, okay, we've got a helicopter coming in, we're gonna go to a level 1 trauma center, we need to just close this
Yep.
up. They put it together, zip, put some staples
Yep.
in it, wrap it with some non-adhesive gauze, put some ACE wraps really tight on it so it doesn't bleed everywhere. They get in a helicopter, they go to a level 1 trauma center, cause you always have to go to the, go up on your surgeries and stuff like that, get them to where they need to go. And then the surgery team will just pop those out and then they'll debride it and get it cleaned up.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and people don't realize they want to focus on what I call the cool guy ninja stuff, which you absolutely need to have. I believe me,
There's a
I've
time
preached
and
that
place
for
for it,
years,
though.
but it's the aftercare.
Yeah.
That's the big thing nobody focuses on. Nobody actually tells what's really going to happen is, you're going to be doing nursing care. It's not that fun stuff. It's going to be the stuff where you're going to be cleaning people up. You're going to be taking care of wounds. You're going to be making decisions of, well, it's going to be like the old days. Wait a minute, we can't get somebody to advanced care. We can't get somebody to a vascular surgeon. So there's only one other option. It comes off.
Yep.
You're going to have to amputate. You're going to have to do things. So it's
It's gonna be scary.
this is why I started teaching this medicine, because the Stop the Bleed initiative by American College of Surgeons, when they pushed it out, it's great. And everybody pushes CPR, but if you've ever taken a true, and I'm not downing American Heart whatsoever, but if you've ever taken their first aid class, it's nothing.
It's a joke.
It's literally
It's a
an
joke.
awareness class. So
Yeah.
I want to
Maybe
teach
catch yourself, put
people
a Band-Aid on it.
what's going to happen if you don't, if a doctor is not nearby, if advanced medical care is not close by, if we do have a situation. And it's not just that shit hit the fan, zombies have attacked scenario. It's look at disasters. Look at Katrina's.
Oh yeah.
Look at the other hurricanes around. I was in Hurricane Maria. I was in Puerto Rico for a year and a half working for a recovery effort. When we went there was zero power on the island. None whatsoever anywhere. Every hospital on the island was closed down. And then they got one open in San Juan, but there's still to this day hospitals that have never opened back up. Nobody had care. And we were going and doing stuff, evacuating people. We were doing things we weren't originally sent there to do, but these poor people didn't have anything. So, and they went months and months. Some people went a year and a half without power. So, and where they were, they're not able to get places. Some people were trapped in their little valleys. It's not all beach, it's an island. There's a central part to things. Everybody thinks Puerto Rico is like San Juan. No, it's absolutely nothing like that. But it's when you see these things, you need to be prepared and you need to be able to take care of yourself, your family, whatever your group is.
You got snowstorms. What if you get trapped in a snowstorm and you're on a homestead? You got to work your homestead no matter what the weather is.
Yeah.
You get hurt.
What are you going to
can't
do?
get out. EMS can't get to
What are you going to do when
you
you put that tourniquet on? What's next?
Yeah. Don't just stop there.
Who can tell me that? And
Yeah.
classes don't teach that.
No.
Well, going back, like the gloves, when we butchered a pig Saturday, and everybody, it's easy to throw on your nitrile gloves. I like it just because I can throw a pair of gloves on, I can be working, do whatever, and then if I need to do something else, you just peel your gloves off, throw them in the trash can. We went through probably half a box of those between the 5 people. So just think about that. You could put that in the context of treating a patient all day long. You're probably going to go through 20 gloves.
even if it's the vinyl gloves, like you see food handlers use,
Right.
and they even sell them at Walmart in the medical section and stuff. It's something that protects your hands, and that's the big thing. You know, when you're treating somebody on any medical thing, you look at what we always say is scene safety. And part of scene safety is your safety. Part of your safety is PPE. Is protecting yourself from that. You know, are you willing to dig your hands into that person's blood? Do you really know every place they've been and everybody they've been with? I'm not.
No.
Just that simple. So you need lots of gloves, that PPE. You need a lot of that stuff. And the other thing is, okay, well, you put that tourniquet on or you put that chest seal on. Now what? You're 8 hours from help before you can get help, and you're in a disaster scenario. What are you going to do now? Go stand around and do this, or are you going to treat your patient and take care of it?
Like when we had, what was the ice storm, 2 years ago? I'd say it was 2 years ago. Where I live at now, my neighbors, I didn't live there at the time, they went without power for 18 days. And literally, it's 2 hills. I live in the valley. It's 2 hills coming in. You couldn't get out. You couldn't get out. They were trapped for, I don't want to say trapped, but they had to stay in their house for 7 days. What if you got hurt on the first day? You got there trying to fall in the ice. You got yourself on a piece of ice.
And you know, emergency services, I'm telling you right now, as somebody who's worked in EMS for 28 years, I don't work in municipal EMS anymore, thank God. But they're shorthanded. It's a nationwide shortage, and you know, the average, according to the Department of Transportation, and yes, the Department of Transportation is in charge of emergency medical services for the feds. I know that makes a lot of sense. But the standard is 7 minutes in a urban area for an ambulance, 11 minutes in a rural area for an ambulance. How many of you all get an ambulance in 7 minutes? How many of you get one in 11 minutes? That's the national standard. Well, some places we're meeting it, nobody is now because they don't have, there's ambulances shut down. Just like there's ERs or even hospitals. You go to hospitals that have floors and wings shut down because there's nobody there to care for people.
Our nearest CMS station is probably 20 minutes from me, and that's going at a good speed to get there. Supposed to have 3 squads in it, they have 1.
Even in the ER, if you need to go to a higher level of care, pardon me, it might take you 3, 4, 5 hours of sitting in a critical access hospital waiting to go to a higher level of care.
You want transportation, you don't have enough helicopters, you don't have enough anybody, you don't have personnel.
There's nobody. And what if the weather's bad? Be stuck there.
Well, even helicopters aren't available anymore. Ground ambulances do transfers because they're not doing the transfers because they need the ambulances there to cover the 911.
They do. That's exactly true.
So,
and that's why
they pull their transports to move up to the cities.
And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing a lot of these classes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, nursing is getting more complicated. We're getting a lot more situations where we call it boarding.
Right.
We're boarding patients in the ER.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And, you know, and it's just a mess. The ambulance services, it's really getting bad.
And that's the whole reason I want to talk and teach about, you know, there's only one other person I've really heard talk about it. Besides, if you look at some of the military channels and stuff like that, they discuss prolonged care quite a bit. But they're just now, in the last few years, are focusing on prolonged care because they were so used to, you know, somebody gets hurt, there's a helicopter there in no time. They're evac them out, or they've got forward. Well, now they've changed their way of thinking and what their operations are and stuff, and they're giving more training to these advanced care medics, the 18 Deltas and stuff like that, and you know what has to be done now is you're taking care of these patients longer, and you've got to be able to have the skills. And the only other person I know who talks about this is Jake Drum, who's been to Self-Reliance and stuff, and I know he talks about it, and he's well versed, and he's done this. I'm pretty sure it's longer than I have, and that's the only people that are actually talking about these things, and that's why I'm doing it. I kind of saw a need in a small space. There's a lot of medical classes out there, and a lot of good people doing it. You know, Bear Independent, you know, Refuge Training does great classes. I mean, there's a number of people who put on great programs, but it's centrally on trauma stuff, which is needed,
which is
and
good.
It's great, but nobody's teaching. All right, now
wound
what?
care.
I mean,
the little stuff,
just basic
it's not going to
homestead
be.
stuff.
you're more likely to die from the cut you get fixing the fence, or when you're taking care of the pigs or the cows,
Get
you
scratched by
know,
a chicken.
and getting infected than you ever are of the zombies coming and shooting you in an artery or something like that. I'm just being honest.
Well,
you
you
know?
got to go past. You can a lot of the classes are step one.
Yep.
It's pretty much what it is. You took the first step, but I want step 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's like-
and 6.
It's like firearms
And-
training. Everybody stops at their concealed carry.
Yeah.
All right, this is what I need.
But
There's a lot more.
even
Conceal
the
carry, yeah.
the basic stop the bleed class, I don't teach it because I teach it, but I just don't teach that because it's not enough
There's
info.
more to it.
I teach a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, I could teach a true stop the bleed class in probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
My 1 day class, I can do a 4-hour class. I don't like doing it, and I tell the people and say,
Yeah.
"Well, can you do a half day class?" Yes, but I don't like doing it. This is why.
Yeah.
I prefer to do the 1 day trauma, and I really like doing the 2 day because then that gets people interested, and I can come back and do another 2 days. But when I do the 4 day class, it's really extensive. We're getting into now. I can't certify people into closing wounds. I can't certify people in some of this stuff. This is for demonstration purposes only.
I
What
love
you
that.
do
I
in your
love that.
house and on your own time is completely up to you. But I can't certify you to go open up a wound closure clinic or say you can go
No.
ride around and work on an ambulance or anything.
Well,
But
it's
we could do this for demonstration purposes
Uh-huh.
the
only.
same
I
thing.
love it.
It's the same thing to homesteading. Like she just started homesteading. I'm starting homesteading. Nobody hands you a certificate to know how to raise
No,
chickens.
no,
You figured it out yourself.
And
Trial
what,
and error.
and what people say happens or works for them may not work for you.
Everybody's in different environments.
Yes,
Everybody.
absolutely. You know, it's a lot of it. You just have to actually go do it. That is the one thing that I agree with. All the YouTube channel, all the homesteaders, you have to go do it. And that's the same thing with training. You can learn all day long on the computer screen. You can do the online courses, but until you actually get out there and you start doing it, you're just not going to know how you're going to react, how the people around you or even your animals are going to react.
Exactly.
You got to do it.
Here's the thing: is with in-person training, they teach you technique. There's techniques to
Yes.
everything. Wrapping a bandage. Oh, that's easy. I'm just going to wrap it around. No, there's a technique for that. There's a way to really actually wrap gauze around a wound. There's actually a way to apply gauze to dress a wound. There's technique, and that's the stuff that you learn in person to show you those little things. I mean, I read stuff all the time, and I encourage everybody to do it. But
And wrapping wounds just isn't with people. I mean, that's with your homestead animals. Animals get hurt. Animals
yeah.
get
we
cut.
talk about that.
Animals get bit.
We got Growing Generations Homestead was talking about Jace Medical. Jace Medical is a website that you can get on, and they'll send you. I don't know exactly the antibiotics, but it's a whole package.
And I've done that. I mean, I've gone on. I've done the process, and I have those antibiotics, and it is legitimate.
It's what starts out at like 220 or something.
It starts out at about 220,
Yeah.
and it works. I mean, I'm a nurse, so I was like, is this like shady? I got to try
Yeah.
this to see if it's shady. And
Dark web order.
right, I know. I'm like, I'm gonna see
Yeah.
what happens, man.
Coming
Are they gonna
from
send me
Japan.
vodka or
I
something
hate
like tequila or something
I hate to
instead?
tell you this, but most of the meds, a lot of it is made overseas. And
Oh,
here's
yeah.
the other thing: all of our American-made
Oh,
Starts out in China.
medications.
God.
Starts out in China.
The ingredients do.
Yeah.
The medications are made, the pills, how they mix it, and do the ingredients for all that. A majority of it is in China
Yeah.
or in Asian nations. But the thing about it is, most of your major big pharma manufacturers are in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
You know why?
Well, cheap.
Yep.
Cheap
Oh.
labor force, cheap taxes,
No
cheap
labor laws.
everything. And guess what? Puerto Rico sends that stuff to Mexico all the time. And yeah, the stuff where you walk in those pharmacies in Mexico, that's real stuff. It's not fake. You're buying it real because they just don't have the stupid laws that we have here.
I personally have a lot of fish that get sick a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? My fish get sick a lot too.
It seems like everybody has a lot of fish and they get sick all the time. So
It's just like that horse paste. Horses,
Oh,
Yes.
I know.
horses
man.
get the vid a lot, so
I-
it's good to have
I-
have
we
that
got
stuff.
a
I got
dog.
a,
Sick cases,
I got
wild
a
horses
mule. I
running
got a
with
mule,
them.
man. I got
Might
to
have
worm
to
them
clear
every
one up.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, I heard your mule coming in. I thought, does he have elephants here? That's what it sounded like.
I want a giraffe, something awful.
Yeah. Yeah, they go right
Yeah.
along with your little wheelchair right there.
Oh, no kidding. True story. My wife finds finally broke down and she was like, they've got in Lewisburg, Tennessee, they've got that exotic auction.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was a rainy, nasty day for that auction. She was bidding online for a giraffe. And she was like, I almost had it. She was like, but it started getting too high.
You'd have one up on John Willis.
I know.
He's got the 9 stuffed giraffes. You have the live one.
And she told me, she was like, I almost had you a giraffe. And I'm like, that would have been so cool.
That would have been cool.
I mean, and
Imagine walking out back, you got a giraffe running towards you for feed.
yeah, I'm going to have a giraffe one day.
Well,
And I'm gonna ride it down the road.
That brings up, you know.
There's a guy that walks around. He walks around our local park. And I was taking my shepherd a couple times to the park. My oldest son, he's got 2 wolves, and I mean, like, he's got them certified, like they're dogs. They walk on leashes. They sit, they stay, they lay down, they jump up on obstacles. Like, I'm not saying they're full blown like
Call
Joel's
it
or
wild.
Fortress canines dogs trained, but like it's
They're pretty-
basic obedience.
Mhm.
Like, and it was like these are full blown 200-pound wolves, and I was like, huh? Because I saw him and I was like, it's not a dog. He said, no, it's a wolf. I said, okay.
Well, you know,
There will be a video with me and a giraffe at this property sometime.
Oh, hey, I'll
Pro-
drive back down for that.
we'll probably have. I'll probably have to come back down and do a giraffe care class or something. What happens when I get
Imagine
mauled
taking
by my
care of
giraffe?
it.
Well, one of the
Get
guys asked
smacked
me.
in the head
One of
with
the
it.
guys asked me, like, well, how the hell you want a giraffe? I'm like, everybody's like, oh, I've got this little miniature Highland and all this. And they're like, oh, it's so cute, and people think it's cool. But a dude takes you serious if you're like, yeah, I got a giraffe, and they call BS with you, and you pull your phone up, standing in front of your house with a giraffe. They're like, that dude's legit. He's for real.
I know. That sounds good. I know.
And it'd be hard. I mean, I guess a rhinoceros without a giraffe. Be with
Yeah.
top of giraffe.
Rhinoceros might tear your door down though.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
But what?
Oh, I know I wanted to say real quick. So on some of the medical supplies that you're buying online or like from Jace Medical or like the dental kits or whatnot, if your insurance has HSA or what is it,
FSA.
Yeah.
FSA.
Yeah. A lot of those items can be bought
Yep.
with that stuff. I've bought a lot of my medical supplies just online with certain companies, and because you're putting money in and your company's putting money in, and you don't want it to just sit there. You want to actually do something with it. So definitely look into that and research that too.
Yeah, and that's like I said, we go over. There's people don't think about, and you bought it. You got the otoscope.
Yeah.
But you've got to think about ear problems, eye problems, nose
Nose
problems.
problems.
Your
You gotta breathe, you
dental
gotta see, you gotta
problems.
hear.
You've got all these different things that can happen, and people aren't prepped for that.
Okay.
When you have a cavity pop out and that starts hurting,
That's what I was about to say.
there's
People
nothing
don't
that's
think
going
the
to
other
stop it
teeth
unless
that
you
they
have
have.
a fill kit or
Yeah.
you've got some Ambisol or something like that. And the Ambisol's temporary. It's going to keep hurting until you feel that.
Dude, just have some more whiskey on it.
Yeah. So you've got to have those things, and that's just some of the stuff that we go over and show and equipment and
Basic
medical
hygiene
stuff
people
is
don't think
not
about.
like you can't squeeze everything into a 2-day or even
No.
a 4-day class. The 4-day class I show a lot, but it's stuff that I send you home. You need to practice this. I'm
Yeah.
going to show you sutures.
Yeah.
You're not going to be an expert when you walk out of
Oh,
class. You need to go home. You need to buy a suture pad. You need to do that. And that's part of the with this course. If you choose the wound closure portion of it with the 4-day class, you get a suture pad. That's one of the things that comes with the cost. That you can practice with.
Yeah.
And but they're easy to get, and all the supplies are easy to get. And yeah, you can go online and learn how to suture, but there's still techniques.
And
You have to
Right.
one-hand practice everything.
last time I got stitches when I was in the emergency room, the doctor was putting all the stuff away, all the instruments and everything. And I'm like, what are you doing with those? He's like,
On the phone.
yeah, he said we chuck them. He said, we don't autoclave them anymore. I was like, bag them up. I'll take the shit home. I'm like, he's like, for real, you want this stuff? I'm like, yeah,
Absolutely.
If you're going to chuck it,
Absolutely.
I'll take it home.
Yeah,
So I left,
Anything you think they're getting rid
Yeah,
of, that kind of that.
I left with a whole bag of stuff. And I was like,
Here's
"Sure."
another secret. If you go on to stuff like when you go to say Harbor Freight Tools, or even I've seen them in Tractor Supply and stuff. You'll see the forceps and the clamps, stuff like that. If It's the same stuff.
It's the same thing.
You just got it's not sterile. None of the stuff that you buy is sterile, but you can get it. You can sterilize it. You
Absolutely.
can soak it. You can. There's different
Boil it.
ways of
There's
sterilizing.
so many
boiling.
clams.
So get that equipment, wherever you can get it, because if you buy it from a medical supply stand
We'll
or
check the
medical,
price up.
that's going to jack the price up
Every time.
twice as much, But if you go to Harbor Freight and you get you get a Kelly clamp, it's $1 or $2, where it's $10 on a medical supply. Guess
Absolutely.
what? Made the exact same
Uh-huh.
factory.
Uh-huh.
Just different packaging.
Absolutely.
The guy at the flea market had a bunch of those.
Yeah.
I bought some.
Get the stuff. I mean, some you could tell are more cheaply made, but
Same thing with
I
medical
carry them
shears.
because you know what?
That
That's
was
one of the
cheap and
things.
it's not.
Military supply
Yeah,
stores have all
that's-
kinds of stuff.
That's one of the
People
things
sleep.
I
Surplus
teach.
stores, yep.
How to use a
People sleep
clamp to clamp
over
off an artery, because that may be the only way you stop a bleed.
Oh, I had a guy that was at the flea market. He would run to Fort Campbell all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
he would buy storage lockers
Mhm.
and come back to Bowling Green at the flea market. And I got to know him pretty good.
Uh-huh.
And I told him, I said, any medical stuff, I said, I'm not going to buy like one Israeli bandage at a time. I said,
Buy crates.
yeah, I told him, I was like, for real. I said, save it all up for like a month. And I said, put it in a crate and I'll come buy all of it at once for one price. And he's like, okay, cool. He'd call me like every month. He's like, and send me a picture of like a Pelican case full of stuff. I'd go over and I'm like, what do you want? He's like, $75. I was like, cool. Does the case come with it? He goes, yeah, I guess. So I got like Pelican cases.
$300 Pelican
Yeah.
case for
And he was like, yeah, whatever. I don't
Hey,
care.
Marketplace is good at that too. If you
Oh,
look in your
yes.
area, you can type in Pelican case. Guys will sell them things dirt cheap and they're awesome. I just saw one in here. I think it's up there. Another good place to store medical supplies. A black and yellow tote you can buy at Home Depot, Lowe's, the stack.
Like those behind us.
That's what I have mine.
Yeah, those are.
The E and the P.
Yeah.
It's a P, not a D. It's not ED. So,
But it's important to have that stuff. But it's just important also. It's just as important as the rest of your stocks. I mean, people that they want to go do the run and gun classes, which, yeah, I think you should have that training. They want to do, Evans on here, do the radio class. You should have
That's awesome.
communications.
That's
But
what I want.
I've seen people go, oh, well, I want to be able to go and shoot, and I got to save my money because I've got to buy 5,000 rounds of ammo for this class, and I got to buy a bunch of new radio equipment from Evan at Radio Made Easy, and I've got to take his class, which I believe you should have, but you've got to budget that too, because medical is going to be one of the things that most likely is going to kill you. It's not going to be the gunshot wound or any of that. It's going to be the
You
dysentery.
need
It's
to
gonna be-
alternate your priorities. You
Yeah.
need to do if you're going to do one gun class, your next one needs to be maybe one of Evan's classes and then a medical class.
Yeah.
Then rotate back around, take another firearm class, or if there's a homesteading class, if I could ever find time, I'd love to go down to one of Jack Spearker's workshops at his place. That'd be awesome.
and I've got the whole preparedness aspect is the whole pie.
Whole pie.
And you've
not
got
half.
slices, but you've also got concentric circles
Yeah.
that it falls in it. And I usually I'll get real big on something at one time, and I'll focus on more of the homesteading and farming aspect and budget, take
Right.
my money and
Yeah.
spend it on it, and do that for a month or two. And then next month it might be, hey, I want to buy some more medical supplies. And then I'll jump around over to some guns and stuff like that. Or I might
Radio.
jump over to the comm stuff.
And all of it is important, and all of it has its place, and all of it you should know, because I'll be honest with you, communication goes in with medical. Because
Absolutely.
depending on how big your group is and what you're going to do, you may be doing telemedicine, so to speak, where you're on a radio on one of Evan's ham radios that he sets up for you, that you're talking to a doctor
Mhm.
because the doctor can't get to you, and they're saying, what do you see? This is
Yeah.
what you
Right.
need to do. So
Right.
all of that ties in. It's important to have, but people I have found, and I see this a lot, is that they keep pushing medical to the back burner. Oh, I'll get it, or
It's not sexy.
I bought this cool IFAK. I'm gonna hang it on my gun belt. But you could tell the dumbasses because the tourniquet's still in the package, and The Israeli bandage is still in the double packaging, and
Or
they
it
don't
falls off
have
in the
anything,
middle
and they
of it,
couldn't
yeah.
figure out, when they open up their Israeli bandage, it's going to go all over the damn ground, and they just contaminated that bandage. It's useless to put on a wound. It's that type of thing. So, but they can do that fast reload in 1.5 seconds with their Glock 19.
And it's like they're like, oh, I've got a new $3,000 Daniel Defense. That's sexy, and they're going to take pictures of it, and everybody's going to like it. But they don't know where they're going to crap when it goes down.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
guess what? That
sanitation.
Daniel Defense is going to be sitting in the corner while grandma or one of their children or one of their loved ones is sick from dysentery or gets an infection or something like that. They don't have those simple supplies.
And if they
To help
bought
them.
if they bought a PSA for $500
Yeah.
and they spent the rest of the money on medical and food,
Right.
it
And
would-
communications and,
And
because
Yeah, I mean that goes.
that's what's
on.
going to happen. I mean, that,
well, right now, let's
Because
talk about
Scott, glad you're in the
Tylenol.
chat.
Let's talk about Tylenol.
Yeah,
Kids are adults and families are bringing their children in because they don't have any Tylenol. They're coming to the ER
yeah.
because they're like, my kid has a fever. I don't know what to do.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean-
so what do you do when there's no Tylenol for your children?
It's
You know.
because they call an ambulance now because when
There's
you
a
pull up,
$500,
there's
$600
15 cars sitting in the
right there.
driveway, and it's like, is there something wrong with one of your 15 cars? Oh, I just don't want to wait in the ER. Well, guess what? You're going to get taken for a very expensive taxi ride to the ER.
Then
I
you
and
get
walk
to-
out.
because
Yeah.
I've literally watched.
Yeah, we're gonna triage you.
Yeah, you're going to get a
Right
chauffeur
back to the
ride.
lobby.
Right.
I've
So
literally
it's-
watched EMS wheel them
and-
on a cot into the ER and
Well,
stop. And
When I
leave them.
started EMS almost 28 years ago, people called for an ambulance because they were sick and they
Yes.
were really hurt. Now it's ridiculous, and it's the same thing. You see it across the board in healthcare, but this homesteading and being prepared, like you said, Jason, it's a piece of the pie. It's everything, and that's what I look at. I've gotten in this community. How we met was through, Self Reliance Festival, but it's that whole community of Jack Spirko, who's kind of like the godfather, of everything, because he's been doing it for a billion years. Sorry, Jack, I'm not calling you old, but you've got, John Willis, you've got Nicole Sauce, you've got Billy Bonds, you've got, even you, I learned from. These are people I learned from. The Porterhouse, who we met. Watch his
California,
channel.
girl,
Yeah, Porterhouse
3
and Teal,
days.
what a great
Oh,
channel and great
Yeah.
information.
Growing Generations Homestead. She wants to know if any group in Central Kentucky. Well, I'm in Warren County, Kentucky, and if you subscribe to this, go and find us on Facebook. And we've got a whole group on Facebook. We've got a smaller group off of Facebook, but it's all vetted and background check members that we do with our vetting and background check members. We do events and trainings. The pig butchering that we did at my house on Saturday was for members of that smaller group that you will get an invite to. It's a little process to go through, but we make sure everybody is background checked and vetted. Everybody sitting here with me has been background checked and vetted, and I'll allow them at my house. So you don't have to worry about some Tom, Dick, and Harry, some pedo creeper, showing up and, looking you over or whatnot at one of our things. But look us up on Facebook. Send me an email. I can talk to you about it personally about that.
If you're in,
Yes, we've got people all over Kentucky.
I'm in Indiana.
Yeah,
I'm
Colleen's
in, we're in West
Indiana.
Virginia.
I'm in West Virginia. Scott, how are you, brother? Let me see. I saw a question here. Somebody was asking. Terry Darwin was asking, is there a good option for long range communication other than ham? And I'm guessing if you mean like grid down scenario, you'd be more qualified. And Evan's in here, so if he's still in the chat, I'm sure he could answer it also.
I have no idea. I'm still working on
You're-
that.
Your ham radio, long range. You're only going to be able to do ham unless, if everything's right with a CB, you can get some skip. I've heard of people back in the day talking, in Kentucky and stuff, talking all the way to Cuba with CB, if the skip was right. But 100% reliable communications, long range, your HF, your high frequency ham frequencies are going to be the only way to go. It's some bigger money to get into the game. You're looking at getting your general class license for ham. That's your second step in ham licensing, and you're probably going to be $1,000 to $1,500 to get set up with a nice HF rig, antenna, power supply, and all that stuff. It's doable. You can do it cheaper. I've got some rigs for HF that are less than $1,000, but you can do that. Hit Evan with Radio Made Easy. I know that's all that he's doing right now. I've got my general class license. I can talk to you more about that sometime if you want to email me. But I've got reliable communications with my HF set up in about a 500-mile radius from Bowling Green, and I can hit every.
You hit me in West Virginia.
Yeah, I can hit every state that adjoins Kentucky. I can get down to Atlanta pretty easy, get to Michigan, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, Evan's great. Evan's got great packages. I try to support people who've got the small businesses and done stuff on his own. And Evan, I'm getting ready to spend money with him. I've already picked out the packages that I'm going to do, and communication's important. You need to have that, and I talk a lot about that, and it's something I've wanted to actually get with Evan about is kind of doing a joint thing of why communications is so important with medical, because telemedicine, and I really think in a long-term grid down, whatever scenario you want to call long-term disaster, there's going to be a lot of the so-called telemedicine,
Well, we're already starting to do it. The industry is so short-staffed.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have one doctor taking care of patients in 2 or 3 different hospitals, and they're already doing the telemedicine. They bring in a screen that's on wheels, basically a computer.
Yep.
And they put it on the patient, and then the doctor tells the nurse what assessment to do. And the doctor might be in California or someplace else. So we're already doing
And
that.
I did that overseas. That was a big thing
Yeah.
when we were at independent duty stations and stuff like that. We did a lot of telemedicine because where we were, it may be some medics. We might have usually it would be a PA, maybe a nurse prac, but that was rare. Usually it's just paramedics, maybe a nurse and a PA, and we're treating somebody and we're talking to a doctor in another country, But in a situation like that, cell may be down, and you may not have that video capability, so it's going to be voice. And even with Ham, I know there's some bursts and some other more advanced technology that I have no clue about, which I'm sure Ham or Evan and even you can talk about. But communication is very important. That's what you need to know.
Well,
Just as important as stacking the food, the water, having the animals, having the seeds, the seed bank, all these things, the tools and redundant power and fuel and all these things.
Well, even communication on a lower scale, like, you have a community here, so even in a grid down scenario, or normal medical care isn't optional. If Jason gets hurt 400 yards that way, and you're with him and you got a ham radio and I'm here, you can tell me what to bring, because that falls under patient assessment and communication.
Right.
Because you may not have everything you need in the bag you all have at that time.
Right. And talking about community too is, get to know your neighbors.
Absolutely. My
'cause-
neighbors are awesome. They got, when I first moved there, I don't have a tractor yet. I don't have all that stuff. My neighbor's got a skid steer. He's got tractors. He came and tilled my garden for me so I could put my garden in.
Well, you're right. Your neighbor might be a vascular surgeon that you didn't know.
Well, I'll tell you what I didn't know. My neighbor down the road is an OB nurse.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that until I actually started getting out
That's
and
what
talking to people.
That's
I
who I
was
would-
like, oh, I got another nurse.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I'm
yeah,
not,
I'm
Got an
better
OB nurse, so get them in there because birthing babies does nothing but make a mess.
Oh my God, that's
Healy, means, she said the other is called
Contingency medical. There's another one. There's a third group that's doing it. They're smaller, and they're doing the whole. It's basically the whole Jace medical. Somebody comes up with a good idea, everybody's going to copy it.
that duration health. Is
That's it. Duration health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I do want to do the duration health because they have the eardrops
Mhm.
for ear infections, and little kids get ear
really?
infections.
One of them
all the
has
time.
one of them has an option for the eye drops
Yeah.
for the my mind just
Is
went
it
blank.
pink eye?
No, well, it's the antibiotic, the eye drops,
Oh,
but you can use it for pink eye.
Right, but I know
Um,
what you're talking about. Is it? I can't remember what it's called.
We looked at one of those, and one of our members in the group is a nurse practitioner,
Yes.
and she showed me this stuff, and I was looking at it, and she told me that you got to watch a lot of the stuff is over the counter stuff, and she was like, they're charging a bunch
Some
of
of
money
it
for
is.
over the counter.
Some of it is.
She said, so watch it. My personal opinion is, if you've got a good nurse practitioner, a good physician assistant, or a good doctor, just lay it on the table. Be like, hey, I don't think things are going real good. Can you write me some prescriptions?
Right.
And if they're pretty cool about it, they'll do it.
Oh yeah,
I-
I agree. Yeah.
Or
I
hell,
highly recommend that.
find you a good farm vet.
You know, get 90-day supply of your prescription medications. That's very important. Do 90 days, and most insurance companies favor that more than just doing the 30 days. And some even do 6 month supplies. So try to do that, and ask your doctor, hey, can you write this at instead of 1 time a day or 2 times a day, 4 times a day, so you can build up your stock, and be honest with them, because you know what, that doctor, you may not know it, maybe you have the same mindset, and go, yeah, I can do that, because you know, you might as well, you pay all that money for your insurance, you might as
Oh
well get out
yeah,
of it.
it's insurance is not getting any cheaper.
Haley, she wants us to talk about. Can you talk about being the only person in the family or the household that's into prepping? Yeah,
It's
It's hard.
it's hard to explain it.
It is. It's a hard road. Some of the stuff that's won my wife over is not having to go to the store to get something.
Absolutely.
She was baking that one day, and this has been several years ago, and she was like, I've got to run to Kroger to get brown sugar. And the little twinkle in my eye went off. It's like, I got some brown sugar downstairs for you. She's like, why do you have brown sugar? And I'm like, hell, why don't we have brown sugar?
My wife
So-
does the same thing.
Yeah, and it's just small stuff. Win that person over with little small things and show them on the money saving aspect of, you know, when it's 10 for 10 for spaghetti sauce at Kroger,
About 10 of them,
buy 10 of them.
coffee can.
Yeah, and then do that. You can actually save money. I wished I had the prices, and I want to start writing the prices on stuff when I buy it in a
See how
magic
much it
marker.
goes up.
And then
Yes,
next month when I buy it.
It's a good idea.
You
Yeah.
can
Good
show
idea.
So
your,
to
show
that-
your husband or wife, be like, last 6 months ago when we bought this spaghetti sauce, we spent a bucket thing on it. Now it's $1.25.
Yeah.
Show them that.
Well, one of the things she said is, you know, I guess people in her household, you know, the importance that the government will provide. Let me ask you something. And I'm stealing this flat off of something I saw. Matter of fact, it was John Wells who said it. What's the government done for you in the last 10 or 12 years?
Nothing but
What can
take
you
my-
think of
Nothing
that,
but
that
take my
they've
money.
literally done for you? Yeah, they gave you some money during the vid. I didn't get any of it because I had a job and I worked.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't
Taking it
qualify
back now anyway.
because I worked for a living and I
Yeah.
continued working. But you know, the thing about it is the government's not going to provide. I've worked for FEMA. This is why I started
FEMA's not
prepping
gonna save you.
years and years
Ever.
ago. This was even pre
Probably around Katrina.
Y2K. It was about 97. I went on some flood responses and stuff, and
Before I was born.
you know, I was raised as a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, so always prepare and have a little bit. And I've always done that. But I went, you know, as part of a FEMA response for the flood stuff, and I saw, and there's only one way to put it, the clusterfuck of what FEMA was in '97.
Imagine now.
That's when I started going. I went, they're not going to help us.
Yeah.
They're not going to be there in 3 days.
They're
Hell,
clueless.
it took us 5 days to figure out who was going to do what to go help the first person. You know,
Well, I
first
think
one.
it was.
And we left. We didn't even listen. We were like, that's it. We're just going out. We're going to find the first 3 people we find to help. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we did. So I just started prepping them. That's the way he grew up. He doesn't know any better because I was doing it before he was born.
Well, I'm gonna take that from you, and I don't remember the exact days the way Jack Speaker said it, but he said on one of his podcasts, he's like, first it was like your FEMA response was 3 days or 72 hours. Then it went to a week. Then it went to 2 weeks. Now they're telling you need to be prepped for 90 days. That's 3 months. I can probably count on a handful of hands the people I know that, well, I wouldn't say no, that are around me in my area. That I can be like, you got food for 90 days, feed your family of 3? Nope. But I can name that handful that I can be like, I got enough food to
And
provide for me the next 2 years.
I know as far as for me and like my family, being one of the few people who has moved out to the country,
Yep.
I'm not in the city anymore, and I think it's just being consistent and
Do
steadfast.
something every day.
And a lot of it, it takes time. I know for some of my family, it's the fact that I have eggs. Like I have eggs.
Well, I
all
just
the
bought.
time.
I have a really good friend.
And-
I actually graduated. I graduated with his younger brother that I work with.
Yeah.
And I don't have my chickens set up yet. He posted on Facebook. He's like, "Hey, I got 6 dozen eggs for $3 a piece." I messaged him, said, "Take it down. I'll take every single one of them."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Really?" I said, "He was." And I asked him. He came to drop. He dropped them off to me before I left, and I took them home from work today. I was like, "You were in the store today? How much was a 18 can of eggs?" He's like, $8.28.
Well,
And I was like, and I just bought what 36 eggs would have got you.
Yep.
I just bought
Yep.
6 dozen.
I know, and I think also when you're by yourself and you're trying to prep and trying to prepare,
I've slowly got my wife on board
You-
with it.
you-
She sees it a lot more now.
you just I think you can't overwhelm them. Like you can't be obsessive about it.
I was at first getting a lot of
Yeah.
stuff all at once, and she
Right.
was like, "Whoa!" But now, like slowly getting stuff, copy canning food in general.
Right, and if you're in an apartment or you're in a small house, do some small
Yeah.
herbs in like a window.
We
you
did
know,
my
and
first
then,
garden
you know,
this year.
Just do something really small. Start out small,
Well, I
and
went
then you'll have
I went
that.
overboard
Well,
with the garden, but we got a
Growing,
lot out of it.
growing Generations Homestead had a really good point I wanted to point out. It said we buy bulk from his ear stock when things go on sale. Look for a month and 3 months and 6
Yeah.
and 1 year. That's a good goal on how to
Absolutely.
do stuff.
2 weeks.
It's
a
built up,
month.
yeah. And then Lawrence McCoy talked about buy now in bulk, learn how to can and preserve food, garden, raise, hunt your own protein. I started doing a garden, and then this year, Chase and his wife, they bought a house. They've got a couple acres. We went out there. We planted a huge garden.
Mhm.
Well, while doing it, I was like, well, what are we going to do with all these damn vegetables between mine and his? So I started canning. We bought, one of the Presto, which is the easiest, greatest thing in the world than trying to do the traditional canning. Yeah, it's smaller batches, but you can do it if you do a little time and stagger your
Yeah.
growing season. But I canned alone out of our 2 gardens 36 quarts of green beans. We did, I don't know how many peppers, potatoes.
I got I only did 2 rows of green beans, and they were probably only as wide as that door, 2 rows, and I filled up 3 5-gallon buckets of green beans this year.
So, I think growing and all those things is very important. And if you do live in an apartment or container gardens,
Yeah.
you can
Absolutely.
buy the 10-gallon
bags.
grow bags, all those things. Grow
The little
potatoes.
herb trays you can get
Yeah.
at Tractor Supply or Lowe's. They're like 2 feet long and
I love
maybe
the
4
bin, 'cause
inches
that
wide.
makes my little kitchen
Yeah,
area smell
well,
really
I've
good.
got one of those 10-gallon barrels, grow barrels and stuff that I grew onions in. It's still turning out onions. Today I pulled onions 2 days ago in this cold with the freezes we've had, everything. It's still, because I was going to dump it. I was like, man, there's still onions in here, and it's still producing onion, keeps growing, and so
That's good.
I'm leaving it
That's
alone. And potatoes are still
Uh-huh.
growing.
My in-laws garden didn't stop producing jalapenos till maybe a week ago,
good. I believe it.
and we've been. Well, no, it was that weekend. It hit like negative 25 wind chill, and they killed it off finally.
That's what killed all my stuff.
Yeah, Scott mentioned something I always say in class. He said, if you think you have enough gauze, multiply it by 10. That's
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
You'll never.
Never have enough.
Don't
Get a
tell me you have enough
27-gallon
gauze unless you
Get
have
10 of them.
tractor trailer loads of gauze.
And they're not going to go bad. That's
No,
the thing.
no,
It's not like,
it has an expiration date on
Everything
it because
does.
that's what the FDA puts on stuff, and the Food and Drug Administration has to put something on. When in gauze is going to go bad?
just
For
like
God's-
how your salt expires.
Yeah, for
They're
God's
like
sake,
fresh on salt.
they dug up Egyptian tombs. You do know what those people were mummified with?
Gauze.
It's gauze. That's what gauze was. It was
How long
Early
it's been around.
generation
and
of
it's
gauze.
still there and still gonna after being buried in the sand.
Yep.
It doesn't
Yep,
go
that's
bad.
that's a good idea from Growing Generations Homestead. Kiddie pools are an awesome thing to grow that or grow aquaponics in,
Yep.
or hydroponics in. I talked to Jack Spirko when I actually met Jason at SRF, and that's what he suggested to me. Which we got colder winters. He said wait till spring, but he said grow it in that. Not hard, something simple, something small. If you don't like it, it's a kiddie pool. You can get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's not. You didn't just tear up 20 yards of your yard
Well,
to grow food in. if you didn't want to do it.
And when one of the prep things is get books, get reference manuals, and now
Absolutely.
while you can,
Yeah.
YouTube is free.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Watch-
yeah, I've learned a lot off
You know,
of YouTube. A
Watch
lot.
Billy Bond's channel. What's it?
Permapastures.
Permapastures. Nicole
Porterhouse.
Sauce at Living Free, Tennessee. Porterhouse and Teal. Two Old Crows Homestead. Who else am I forgetting? Tag and that whole group. You know, that offshoot there.
Grumpy.
Yeah, Grumpy Acres. You know, watch Bear Independent, Refuge Medical, Refuge Training, all
And
those
then
things.
most of these people are crossed over, not just on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're on Facebook. They're on
I mean,
Instagram.
I know
TikTok.
I miss Joel Ross. You know,
Yeah, Joel-
or
watch
just-
Joel if
Just
you wanna
watch
learn
his
about dogs.
Instagram. The stuff he talks about alone is
Yeah.
great advice. It's not just about
Motivation.
dogs biting people.
Yeah, it's
you know,
motivation.
it's literally he's got a ton of information on it. I know I'm forgetting people, and I'm sorry. if
Pat
I'm
Watson
forgetting.
out of Houston. He's a part of Fortress
But,
Canines.
you know, all these people have great information.
Oh, yeah.
Your channel, you know, that's why I watch it. I mean, I want to
you
support
and
the people I
Porterhouse
know.
and
You
John.
know, Evan, great information
Yeah,
on
Evan.
communication stuff. Jason, did the moonshine down in Camden. Jason does the t-shirts for John. I can't remember his channel name. Tennessee Shiner, I think, or something like that. He's got great information. He puts some good stuff out.
Stivers Homestead in Kentucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we're doing, talking about my channel, we're doing the Chicken Tractor on Meth t-shirts pretty soon. And we're gonna have those out hopefully within about a week or so.
That'd be
Let
awesome.
me know about that. Text me if I don't see it. If
Uh,
you don't see an order from
Yeah.
me, text me.
and then, well, talking about growing in kiddie pools and stuff, I decided I wanted to try grow bags this year.
Uh-huh.
So what I did, I got a bunch of different size grow bags. I started filling those up and I set them on pallets.
Okay.
So what I did was pick them up with the tractor, the bobcat,
Mhm.
and then you can move them wherever you
It's a
want.
good idea.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
a good
it's
idea.
like-
Yeah.
Hey, and my potatoes, I was going to do early and late potatoes. And then I started looking at dates. And I'm like, worst case scenario, at night, I can pick my grow bags up on the pallets, set the pallets in here in the shop where it's halfway warm so they won't get too cold.
Uh-huh.
And then in the morning, pull them out where they'll get
Or-
the sun.
well,
Or another one too is like, you know, if you move into a new homestead or the hassle of moving, you got all those totes that you'll never use again. Take a drill bit and drill holes in the bottom of it. Grow in that.
Yep.
Grow in hay bales. There's a lot of different ways you can grow. Like I grew all of my strawberries literally in a 27-gallon tote this year.
Well,
That's a good idea.
I think the other stuff is that you can do. Like one of my containers, I had potatoes in it, and I actually forgot to dig that one up again. And I went, oh man! And when I remembered, I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna leave it and see if it grows more potatoes. And sure enough, it did. And then the freeze happened. I thought, oh, they're dead. No, I dug those potatoes up. I ate one 2 nights ago. I ate them 2 nights ago. So they, you can grow stuff literally outside
Carrots are easy to grow
year
in small
round,
totes.
most of the times. And it surprised me. I just kind of did it as a test. I mean, I was like, I literally forgot to
Went
dig
to
that
his house when he was
container
out of town and he had the starter pods everywhere. Like I'm talking 100 of
Yeah.
them, 150 of them in his.
I
sunroom.
started in I've got a sunroom in my house. I kind of converted it to a greenhouse. I put some heat up there. I start a lot of my starters in February.
Yeah.
It's still cold in West Virginia in February. It's still cold through
Absolutely.
March,
Yeah.
but that room, it's a southern
It's just
exposure.
warm enough.
And it is literally floor to ceiling windows on 3 sides. So I get sun in there a
I start-
majority of daylight hours all the time. And it warms up. It'll be 30 degrees warmer in there
Oh, yeah.
than it is even in the house and stuff like that. I mean, it could be, it may be 20 degrees outside. And in that, if the sun's shining, it's 60. So it's
That's
a
good.
good growing environment to get starter plants for.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways to grow stuff. I mean, we did our food forest back this fall. Did it? That's going to be something that we're going to get stuff from all year long out of the food forest. But
I'm trying to do one of those.
If you
you'll
want
see
it,
tomorrow, you can go down there and look.
Well, I want to because I do. I have an area I call it my forest garden where I literally just took some stuff and just threw it out. And almost all of it grew. And then I put in a couple mulberry trees and 2 cranapple trees. And I went out there a while later because I was working a whole bunch of crazy shifts. But so one day after work. I was like half asleep, whatever. But I went out there and I walked through that little area. There were strawberries, raspberries. I had barley, wheat. What else? I mean, there was just like, so all these little seed packets that I had tossed out. It was all growing. And I was like, if I would have spent a little bit of time on it, it probably could have been really productive.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you could learn from everybody, and even the people in your group, like
Mhm.
Scott, who's on here now in the chat. He did a couple of things that he just kind of posted pictures that he was
Yeah.
working with one of the portable solar generators and a mini fridge and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Just I mean, he's got. I've learned from so many different people and different things and all
This is
the
a great
things that
community.
it's an education. Like I don't go to Self Reliance Festival because I'm presenting or doing a class. That takes time away from me
Yeah.
actually networking with people and learning other things. I mean, I go for the people.
Yeah, I mean, I met Jason down there. John, Amanda, and Cody Willis while I was down there. Cody took me all over their property and showed me how they were doing their ducks, how he was doing his quail, and I'm really interested after I get my chickens going to do some quail. He showed me how to set up for that, or sheep, all that stuff.
We all know it, but everybody who sees John Willis on YouTube or some of his videos thinks he's a gigantic asshole, and really and truly, him and Amanda and Cody and everybody down there
They're the nicest people.
are the absolute nicest people in the world. And you know, Jason's met him; he's been there, and
Yeah.
you know,
He likes
you
your name
know,
for your chicken tractor. I
Um,
remember that. He thought that was hilarious.
Oh, let me see.
Anybody got any other questions?
Everybody's kind of talking about.
Trying to get people on the same page.
Good one.
It's
Yeah,
like it's hard when you have people who are who like you said, they're not bad hateful people at all, but when they're not seeing what's going on with the world now, the inflation, not realizing that the government's not going to take care of them, it's really hard to convince them. But those are also the people that when something goes sideways and eggs get to $40 a dozen, they're going to be like, hey, you got chickens? You got any extra eggs? And you're looking at them like you had the room to get eggs 4 years ago. Why I can't spare any now.
Well, I see everybody talking about trying to get people on board, and one of the things about it is you may not
It's
be able
hard.
to, but
That's hard.
it's groups like this. It's
Yeah.
going out and networking
Mhm.
to specific like Self-Reliance Festival, and I've met so many people that I now literally talk to every day
Yeah.
with, and Scott's on here, Don Stender, Jeremy, Jose Reed. I mean, I met so many good people.
Evan,
Toolman
Dude.
Tim, who's in, that's another person I forgot. Who's in Canada. Tim is a great guy. I'm actually going to be on his live
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, I was
Um,
reaching
I'll
out
watch
to
all his
Jason.
video, all
Yeah.
his
And I
reviews.
mean, I'm in southern Indiana, and I'm like, I
Jason's
wanna,
done this
Yeah, this is
amazing
great.
thing
Yes.
that he's done
Yes.
that I haven't seen. And really, it should be a model for every state and every area.
Porterhouse and Teal, his page, just like yours. After SRF, y'all really started pushing your pages, and it blew up. Like I watched all Porterhouse and Teal stuff. I talked to him a lot. Well, I talked to Porterhouse a lot while we were at SRF. Talked to you a lot, and y'all were pushing these great narratives and trying to get people prepared,
And
trying to show them the homesteading
Right,
way and
right.
what they can benefit from it.
right, and even like where I work at in the hospital, there's starting to be groups of people within the hospital. Oh, you think like that? Oh, you
People
have
realize
chickens?
it's not as
Oh.
great because
No,
like
it's
before
not
people were
that.
like, "You're a prepper, you're a homesteader,
Yeah, you're crazy.
you're storing
like, you're the
food,"
crazy one.
because they see it as just like we talked about earlier. They see it as zombie apocalypse,
Uh-huh.
nuclear destruction,
right,
not just hey, the power went off because of an ice storm.
right.
We have community right here in this
Yes.
county to get together and take care of each
Right.
other.
But yeah, there's
It's
people
families,
that are
yeah.
willing to show Jason, Two Old Crows page, all these different people
Yep.
who can show what
And
they've
learn
gained
different
knowledge, what
ways.
they've learned,
Right.
and now they're taking, and that's how you do, but that's how you grow community, because I know without a doubt, if something happens and I need help or I need to go somewhere, I can't stay in my, I can come here because I have skills to give to a group, or
Right.
I've got people who, whether it's Jeremy or Don, who's up in the wild, he's in the frozen tundra of Wisconsin. Jose, who's down in Florida. There's
Uh-huh.
people up
Joel,
Scott, who's
who's down
who's
in
in
Florida.
Commie, California, but is moving to Tennessee. That guy. All these people, you've got these networks all around that
Yeah.
if something would ever happen or you're traveling and you're stuck, you have help.
Yeah,
And
I'm like,
talking about traveling, being stuck, I was going to go to one of our guys that lives up around Richmond and Irvine. Last year, I was going to go to his house, and I went ahead and Googled the map and did it. And I was like, "There's the fast way, and then the way where I go through 4 people that are in our group, go through their city." It took an extra 45 minutes, but I drove, and I told him. He was like, "Why in the hell did you drive that way?"
You're
I
learning
was
people
like, I went by Joe Blow's house, Susie's house,
Uh-huh.
Tommy's house, and Tammy's house. I drove by their houses on the way up here. If I had a problem, they're there to help me.
That's like you reached out to me last week. There was a woman who got in contact with you that's
Yeah.
2 counties over from us. And, like this group can stretch like more than just Kentucky. It's
Yeah.
called Kentucky Sustainable Living, but it can stretch you're in Indiana or in West
Right.
Virginia.
Well,
We
they've
can make
got-
a community everywhere. That way, if you can go from here to, God forbid, if you got to go to California, you have people in each state that if you broke down, they're a phone call away. There's not a doubt that I could pick up the phone and I'm 4.5 hours from here. Call Jason. Jason, I need help. Can I FaceTime you? I gotta call. I'm trying to build this, and I guarantee I can
Right.
FaceTime him, and he would explain it to me the best way he could.
But I think it's also good because it allows us to be like, there's all these other people that are thinking like we are. We're not just crazy. So I'm going to be opening my mouth a little bit more and talking to other people because I have more confidence that I'm not the only one who thinks like this. Because I think a lot of us, or like even myself when I was working at the current hospital, there were a few of us who all thought alike, but it took a minute for us to start
Well,
talking
it's
to
'cause of-
each other.
It's because of what I've heard it a lot. It's because of the prepper porn world of the zombie apocalypse coming.
Yes.
The-
And I just want to live through the next tornado or if
Yeah.
But
the
I-
electricity goes
Or
I
out.
inflation.
want to be, I want to be around like-minded people. I want those
Yes.
people to be my
Yeah.
friends too, because
Yeah.
you've got to spend a lot of time with somebody to make sure you're going to be able to work together in a group, and you want them in a group.
And
So
know
if you
their
do
true
have to
skill.
come together at whatever type of scenario it is, because if you don't spend a lot of time with those people, you're going to find out real quick
Oh,
the
yeah.
people that
You're ready to tear their head off
You know.
on day 2.
So it's important to do that, and it's important to see what their true mindset is about everything.
Yep.
Just because you agree on homesteading or chickens
Yeah.
doesn't mean everything else.
Right.
You may end up butting heads, and it may be a problem.
Because you agree that you want ducks or he
Yeah.
wants chickens.
And,
Like,
and all 4 of us sitting here, your core values have to align.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
we have to have the core values. Chuck can think that pink is the best color ever, and I'm like, Chuck, you're totally wrong. Pink is the stupidest color ever. It's got to be black or it's nothing. But our core values align. I mean,
Right,
we
right.
go roll around in the gravel for a few minutes and fight who's
Right.
got the best color. But that's stupid stuff. But if our core values align, we're good in the
Right,
long run.
right, right. You're
Just like
always
being married.
yeah.
As long as you and your wife are on the same page, she can want to watch TikTok half the night and not go to bed. And I think TikTok's the stupidest thing in the world. But our core values align, and in the end, everything's good. I am on TikTok, and I still think it's stupid, but it brings people to the YouTube channel. That's the only reason I do it.
does.
All of this is trying to find, like Holly just said, she doesn't know any like-minded people.
Yeah, I
in
just
my area.
answered that comment.
It's hard. It's hard when you're first starting out.
When I told her to reach,
and I
told her to
Be
reach out to us.
Be steady. Yeah.
look at, there's
Email me. I'm a
Porterhouse-
girl.
Porterhouse
I feel you.
Yeah, he's out there in California.
yeah, you've got somebody right there who could show you everything. You want to talk about a
Knowledgeable
knowledgeable
guy.
person. Is
Yeah,
him,
absolutely.
former firefighter.
Yep.
We
I
have
think
that
he's
going.
turned Amish because he shaved his mustache.
I noticed
Yeah, I
that.
saw
I
that.
noticed. I think he's going a little Amish there. Yeah. To find like-minded people, you'd be surprised. Start getting in some other groups, other channels.
Scott's
Some
out there in
people that
California
we've
still.
mentioned. Yeah, Scott's in California. There's people who are in these self-reliant networks, so to speak, that are in California. A lot of people. So, trying to find that. But go to these groups, go to these other channels, go to these other lives. Continue with Jason's lives, and you're going to meet more people, and you'll hear of other people and other channels that can start putting you in touch. Because that's what I did. Mine literally went from I'd listened to Jack Spirko and I knew about tactical response, but when I started, a couple of years, I was in the hospital for 4 months, and I started listening to John Willis, and I don't know if it was the drugs or really what he was saying while I was in the hospital, but John just struck a chord with me, and it helped me with my recovery because I said, well, I'm not going to lay here and die, which I should be dead. I was in Dallas, Texas. My family was in West Virginia. I shouldn't be alive, and he could tell you.
This was in like
2020.
June of COVID. First year
so
COVID.
He could tell you
they would not let us down there.
The doctors called him and said he's going to be dead in 24, 48 hours. But I started listening to that stuff, and that's how I felt. And I didn't say anything in his live chats forever. For the longest time, I just listened and learned and
That's
saw
what I did. I didn't comment. I didn't start commenting on it until after I met
or
him.
on Facebook a lot, really before he started doing YouTube. But now, going to Self-Reliance and going to some of these other places and the network that has grown is just some people I want to pay attention to, buy, support their businesses, all those things.
Evan's out there, John, all those guys that are selling their products.
Nicole makes the best coffee. I don't know if y'all have tried.
As long as it doesn't have espresso in it.
Yeah, you can't have espresso, and she does have some that doesn't have espresso. We can't let you have espresso anymore because Nicole's coffee tried to kill you in Self-Reliance Festival.
And then that high voltage crap I did Saturday tried to kill me too. So, does anybody else have any questions? It's getting to be 9 o'clock, and we've still got to set up for a medical class. So we've been on here an hour and a half.
Wow, didn't seem like that long.
No,
That math's right. Eh? Yeah, we've been on here an hour and a half.
yeah.
We've still got 20 people. Does anybody else have any questions that you want answered?
If anybody's in Southern Indiana or
West Virginia.
or whatever, let us know. My email is on your YouTube channel where it says about. It's on there.
And there's also Jake with Dog Creek Farms. He's a member of Kentucky Sustainable Living also, but he started Indiana Sustainable Living. So,
thank you, because I forgot about that.
Yeah, because there's Indiana Sustainable Living on Facebook. I've been helping Jake with that a little bit. He's starting pretty much what we've started in Kentucky. He's starting in Indiana and using our framework as his starting point.
We'll probably, Chase and I've discussed it a little bit. That may be something we do in West Virginia also.
Yeah.
What?
Just to bring it up, same thing, the sustainable living thing. But
Sorry, I was answering. What?
No, because what we're talking about is like bartering and stuff like that too. Because one of my neighbors has a milk cow, and there's other things that we're wanting to like trade and barter. And see what's going on, because I think in the future if things start getting really expensive.
We're going to need that bartering
You're
power. We're going to need that knowledge power to learn off people.
Yeah.
Well, with bartering, you cut the man out.
Yep.
You know, I give
Well,
you a
and
gallon of milk, and you give me a thing of eggs.
Even now,
taxes.
even
involved.
now, if I had a class and somebody had something they wanted to give me, I could waive a fee for that, or do something, or reduce a fee for whatever, there may be. Like, hey, Evan, you want to come to a class? I won't charge you if you give me a radio package, something like that. It's all those different things you can do, because everybody has a skill you can learn from, and being able to do that, you can barter that. And when
train,
grid or zombies attack or whatever, chickens actually grow 3 more feet and take over the world. That would happen if they got any bigger. That's something that you're going to be doing trading. You're going to be doing bartering. So why not start it now? Have those relationships already set up.
Yeah, and I think Lawrence he's got a member in the group that's from Sacramento. Porterhouse and Teal, I believe, are northern Sacramento.
I don't know.
I feel like that's right. I feel like I heard him say it on a live or when I talked to him.
I don't think he's ever actually gave his location. He was a firefighter in California.
I think he's in northern California somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's in northern.
We'll find Porter's address and send it to you.
That's
tomorrow.
right. We'll give you all Porter's address. Go say hi to him unannounced. He'd love that.
You're throwing birdhouses and shit.
I feel safe in saying that since I'm on the other side of the country.
You know he'll drive his
I know
ass.
he will. I know he'll drive his
Give me
ass.
3 days, but he'll be here.
Sleep in
right.
his truck.
He'll come pay me a personal visit.
All right. Well, everybody, it's 9 o'clock. We've been on about an hour and a half. I appreciate everybody that's been on the chat. We'll probably do some more lives. We'll set up a panel discussion and do some stuff like that since we're all spread out. We'll probably do some lives like this. Get some questions. If y'all want to email me questions, email me some questions, and we'll have a list of questions and we can go in and answer those questions for you.
Maybe try to get a lot more.
I somewhere in the chat I put my email in there of the company. So if you have questions, you want
Put
a
your-
custom medical kit.
Put your YouTube channel.
All right, yeah, I'll put that in there too. So if you have questions, email me. You know, maybe, I don't know, we might get on live while we're doing class or something for a little bit. just to
Yeah.
show you
Hey,
all.
do y'all want to see a live while we're doing class tomorrow or
Yeah, we can
Saturday?
easily set up a camera and do some video and things like that live. And if y'all ask questions, have a little short segment, maybe an hour of just.
Shelly's going to bed. She's going to be here bright and early in the morning. 2 old crows.
Oh, guess what? I'll get ready to go to bed too soon as we unload some crap out of my car.
But,
You ain't been up since 4 o'clock in the morning.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll probably shoot. We'll go live a little bit tomorrow. Go live tomorrow
they're
and
asking for a
Saturday.
live.
Several people
tomorrow.
saying that. Yeah, we'll be more than happy to
Absolutely.
do it.
We'll do a little, like, maybe an hour segment. If I'm not being used as a dummy, I'll do some question and answering on the live
Aren't you
live
always
video
used as a dummy?
all the time.
That's why he's here.
For the class.
Big
for
dumb
work,
muscle. That's
For
right.
YouTube. It don't matter where.
But we will also. We're not gonna film the whole class, but we're gonna have some content on my YouTube channel. It'll probably be on Colleen's. I know it'll be on Chuck's for sure. But we'll have some content on that. And yeah, start one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally start one tomorrow. It's like,
Pretty easy.
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
it's really helped me out. It's really helped me focus on what I'm supposed to be doing.
But we will probably, hopefully by Sunday, I'll have some of the medical class and content and stuff like that. It's going to be good value. It probably won't be edited. I hate editing stuff. Editing, in my opinion, is the biggest waste of time ever. I'm going to show you the flops, the stupid stuff, me picking my nose, me coughing, all that crap. And I don't really care, honestly, because everybody picks their nose.
That's right.
So, all right, with
True
that,
story.
we're going to scoot out. I appreciate everybody watching. Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
kept people,
Kept people warm for an hour and a half. That's pretty good.
numbers stayed pretty much the same the whole time.
Well, I'm excited. My mother said that she was watching it.
Yeah, my wife was on there and my future brother-in-law was on there. He's the one that said every time I see Chase, he's giving me something first aid or something medical.
No, Tim's on tag, right now.
Yeah, I saw that. I jumped out.
Cool, man.
Yeah, you got tag on right now.
Going out of
He
my-
must do 4 or 5 lives a week.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah.
My first live. I was just rolling with
Well,
it.
the only, I've only done one other thing, and that was with
I've wanted to
Bush
start.
Doctor Survival. He interviewed me.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
He's pretty. I've watched some of his stuff. He's got some good stuff.
I've been
Yeah,
debating- I've been
I
debating
did.
doing
He
it.
did the
Or just something.
ER nurse point of view on End of the World or whatever.
Yeah, I've actually I've seen a couple of his videos. I actually want to meet him because he's got some pretty good.
Well, and the thing is, that right now his content is off because of his job. His job basically told him,
No, yeah.
"You're getting a little bit too much there." But yeah, he lives right. He lives just maybe 2.5 hours.
I
north
get
of me.
flack from some of my classes. I've had medical people come in because I say, look, this stuff isn't rocket science. It's technique. It's showing you how to do stuff and a little bit of education. But I can teach a monkey how to innovate. I can teach a monkey how to sew. It's not. Don't let them fool you. And you know this.
I know.
You know just as well as I do. But man, I've got flack from people. You shouldn't be saying that. That's people
But
are
it's
going to act
true.
like I'm telling the truth. And people need to know this.
And the thing is, so like, I try to tell people, it's task. You're doing
Yeah.
a task. Just like if I was a mechanic and you were teaching me how to do a mechanic task, a lot of it's
I was
the same.
excited. I know we got here like.
Well, and that's why I tell
Go
people, Go on, Peter. It's nursing.
Oh, it is, it's wound care.
It's nursing, and that's what they think it's gonna be cool guy stuff.
No, you're gonna,
Hey,
the person who's sick has to poop
well,
and pee
that's,
everywhere.
I mean, you know this, that I don't care to tell you, but like doing the patient assessment, the ongoing assessment, you gotta learn is, are their kidneys working? Or, you know, what's their output? You're gonna have to measure pee. You
Uh-huh.
know, you're gonna have to
Obvious.
measure that stuff. Yeah, you're gonna have to look at poop, you know, and what's in it, what's the consistency, how often are they
I
voiding?
work in the
Is it?
bathroom.
You know, that's what people don't
Okay.
realize. And